If you're rebuilding a project after losing your home in the 2019-2020 fires, it's really key that you have some good information together so that you understand how to best navigate rebuilding and that you have your ducks in a row when you're speaking to the various people involved. This video is going to be really helpful for you if you need to understand what your insurance company might be offering in terms of full payouts of your mortgage, or how you might go to a mortgage broker in terms of talking about finance options for your project and what you need to know to be able to get that right. This video is part of our Rebuild and Build Better series, so be sure to subscribe and like the video and check out the comments in the description below for more information. Hello, I'm Amelia Lee from Undercover Architect, and I help and teach homeowners how to get it right when designing, building and renovating their family homes. In this video, I speak with Amy Beattie from Good Green Home Loans. Now, Good Green Home Loans are not your average mortgage broker. They actually help you find a home loan from an environmentally responsible lender who doesn't use their profit or power to support the fossil fuel industry.
Now, in terms of understanding, I suppose, the position that some people are in after the bushfires, I know from the research I've been doing with the 2009 Victorian fires that one of the big problems when it came to people losing their properties or suffering significant damage was that their insurance payouts ended actually just being, they had their mortgages paid out in full. And speaking to people who were there at that time and working with people on the ground, this ended up being a big problem for people because whilst it seemed great to get your mortgage paid out, if you were then with no house, your block of land, you might have lost your business, lost your job, and didn't have then a reliable income, no bank was going to lend you money to be able to then turn around and build your new property, and you've got no cash from your insurance company to get started either. So
Yeah.
how have you seen, or have you seen that this situation be handled slightly differently in the current environment, or what options there might be for people in terms of other avenues and other I don't know. I mean, it's such a tricky thing, and I'm not sure if there is anything, but I suppose we've got, whether there's any alternatives for people in terms of exploring this with financing and how they explore it for their project.
Well, when you're talking about, hypothetical situations where this hasn't happened yet, but people are trying to mitigate for it, for me, it all comes back to, understanding the risks yourself, not just trying to meet the criteria of the bank, but understanding the risk criteria yourself. And sadly, it's the insurance industry that we're all kind of hinged on. But the importance of, we pay a fortune to insure our cars. And in the scheme of things, what we're insuring there is so minor in our overall financial position. And I don't know the statistics on it, but I just know from my experience that many people are not insured adequately personally, whether it's their income or their property or their life. And most people don't really understand the fine print of their insurance policies. So that's what it comes around to for me when we're talking about hypothetically, and before you've embarked on taking out a home loan for your dream home, is the what if this happened, and what would I do about it? And if the answer is I'd be in big trouble, you need to mitigate that risk somehow. And I can't express that more, but it's always a balance of how much that costs to, the likelihood of it occurring. But I guess in hindsight, you would never say, I wish I didn't have that insurance policy when you needed it. So, but for those people that are in situations like that, where their insurance was inadequate, whatever the insurance was, whether it was those personal insurances or the building insurance, the industry itself, I haven't seen anything really yet in terms of the industry as a whole, finance industry as a whole, wanting to address how we're going to help people like that. So I'd probably, the only thing I can suggest is that you've got to sooner rather than later find someone that you can trust and who has your best interests at heart to go to and begin the journey of trying to find out how to get back on your feet. So whether that's financial counselling services is probably a really good place to start. But a broker would be a good place to start too. A broker with a really good heart would be key, because there'll almost certainly be banks who are willing to lend money to the people who are desperate to turn their circumstances around, but it will very likely be at a cost as well, a significant cost, and potentially lining somebody's pockets when that isn't the right answer. So yeah, you just got to be really wary of the not so good people out there too. I think you've got to find someone you can trust and who cares. And yeah, financial counselling services I think would be the best place to start.
That's fantastic advice, Amy. I think that thing of actually just getting people who do care in your corner can make such a critical difference to you getting the right information that you need, because oftentimes you're being sort of forced to make decisions very quickly by those that don't necessarily have the best intentions. And so it is that having the wherewithal to say, no, stop, I just need to, find these things out and make sure that I'm protected, so that you don't get yourself backed into a corner unnecessarily. And I think it's always really interesting to see when you do speak to a broker. There's been times where we were doing projects and we thought it was going to be impossible to access funds. But when we sat down and actually sort of laid out all of the puzzle pieces that we were dealing with, then there was always an avenue through. It just required understanding, okay, we might have to wait to satisfy X, or that might mean that we could do this as an alternative. And you can't actually make those decisions until you've got all of the information. So it's lovely to know that there's brokers like you who can help people really lay out that picture for themselves. And, a lot of the other guests that we've been bringing on as part of this Rebuild and Build Better series who can share knowledge and expertise with people to help them make informed decisions rather than getting pushed into something that they don't want to do and then getting stuck. So
yeah, and one thing that came to mind when you were saying that is just that where in my role I often feel like culturally we clients on the other side of the desk, I guess, they get excited by the yes, and it isn't necessarily the best thing. So it's just doing things in a really considered, well thought out way, speaking to many people, and definitely not relying on the wrong people, I guess. And that can sometimes be people with great intentions that, when I went and saw my broker, he said this or she said this, and so you can do this, and it's not necessarily right for you. So I think there has to be that trust, the integrity, the experience, and not to just sort of jump at the first thing you hear yes to, because that can just be fraught with danger. So the more knowledge you can acquire before you make any big decisions on something this huge, it'll be financially almost always the biggest decisions you'll ever make will be to do with your borrowings for a home and your superannuation. So don't rush decisions just when you hear something you want to hear. Surround yourself with the right people and good people and get the best advice.
that's so true. I see lots of people fall for the things that they want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And my approach is that oftentimes you've ignored, like when I've seen things go poorly for people, it's because they ignored a raft of people who told them what they needed to hear, and they went with the person who told them what they wanted to hear, and then ended up in a pickle. And so it is that thing of trying to check the credentials, establish the criteria, really know what your priorities are personally, and find alignment with experts who can support you, and do demonstrate a caring, kind of invested attitude in you achieving outcomes that are going to be suitable and not cripple you financially and not get you caught out. So I can imagine it's a huge responsibility as a broker. I saw somebody post recently in a Facebook group that their home loan, they'd been speaking to a broker who suggested that they get a personal loan to sort out their deposit to then be able to go and get their mortgage. And it was like, holy cow, that sounds like a recipe for disaster. And it's like, actually the conversations you have with your broker at this point are critical for you not crippling yourself financially and not getting yourself into a lot of trouble debt-wise. In terms, I mean, it is that thing, you must feel a huge amount of responsibility in how you advise people in this regard.
Yeah, that's right. And it's a fine balance too of offending people, because you sort of say, I don't think this is the right idea for these reasons. And it might be based on transaction history on their bank account, you know, and that can feel personal. So it's a fine art, I think. But, you know, ultimately the client gets to choose what they do next. So, you know, I don't know, this isn't the right way to put it. You win some, you lose some, but I definitely have seen clients go somewhere else and come back around eventually. So, you know, get lots of opinions, don't rely on one person. And if your gut instinct is that that person's the right person, challenge that too, and just check with one or two more, because it's only going to be knowledge and personal growth, and all of those things will help you go down the right path in the long run.
Fantastic, Amy. Thank you so much. It's been so great speaking with you, and you've shared all of your wisdom so generously. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, Amelia. It was lovely to chat.
I do hope that you found that video helpful. Be sure to check out the other parts of my conversation with Amy Beattie from Good Green Home Loans. It's really useful information if you're looking for finance for your new build or renovation, particularly if you're doing that in an area that's bushfire prone or on a property that has a bushfire overlay. And be sure to go ahead and comment and let us know what you thought about this video. As always, thank you for tuning in and for letting me be your secret ally. Until next time, bye.